He's injury-free. He had a bad back injury that sidelined him for a little bit. I feel like this Derrick Lewis can go on a run. Now, ultimately, can he beat Stipe? I don't know.
Hey,
He could beat Francis.
hey, he did it. So
Yeah.
like that's the thing, right? Like if Derrick, so here's the thing. Derrick Lewis needs to be paying very close attention to what happens at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
If Francis Ngannou beats Stipe
Next month,
and Stipe takes some time away, like he's done, right? Derrick Lewis fights Francis again. Derrick Lewis could be the UFC champion. Like that's a real possibility because he can fight with just about anyone. Does he? And it's all about matchups. He matches up better with Francis than he does Stipe, I think, because Stipe has the ability to ground him, and Stipe's faster. He will struggle a little bit with the guys that are fast, but against a power striker like Francis, I think he matches up really well, and he needs to be really paying attention. I'd go to Vegas if I was him. I'd go to Vegas March 27th. I'd sit in the arena, and I would just pay attention, and I would make sure those guys know that I'm here in case, something happens, because I'm starting to hear things like Jones is watching Blachowicz and Adesanya. He may want to fight those guys. Like, if I'm Derrick Lewis, I'm playing as if I got a chance.
Sure. So let's stay. I think ultimately they're going to give John Jones that title shot. It's the biggest fight to make. John Jones fighting for a UFC heavyweight title in his heavyweight debut is massive. If it's against Stipe, arguably the greatest heavyweight champion of all time, huge. If it's against Francis and his power, gigantic. I mean, you could do no wrong. Now the question is, all right, Lewis, do you either wait? And I can't see him waiting. He's never been that guy. Or I think the other two options are rematch against Alexander Volkov, who he had that great fight against back on the Khabib Conor card. Volkov was like 11 seconds away from winning that fight before he got knocked out. That's the infamous "my balls was hot" fight, which you can then replay it. I mean, it's easy to promote. Or you fight the winner of this weekend's fight, Ciryl Gane versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Those are two fresh matchups. He talked afterwards about wanting to fight Alistair Overeem. I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't want to see that.
I
don't want to see that fight with Overeem.
Right?
I know him and Overeem have had some issues in the past, so I understand why Derrick wants to fight him. But if I'm Team Alistair, I'm saying I don't want to deal with it because Volkov put it on him, and Volkov doesn't have the power that Derrick Lewis has. Derrick may hurt him, and man, did you hear Curtis Blaydes after the knockout?
Yeah,
he's like snoring and like moaning.
It was
scary.
Stiff.
Right? That's the power of Derrick Lewis. You don't want to see a Overeem who's aging and his reflexes aren't what they used to be fighting this dude. Ciryl Gane, Jairzinho Rozenstruik makes all the sense in the world because one, they're fighting at the same time, right? Derrick this week, them next week, Stipe Francis the following week, I believe, or maybe following month, right? Following month. You take those two winners and then you put them in the co-main event of the heavyweight title fight. And then it all works out. You got your number one contender fight right before you got the heavyweight title fight. And whoever wins gets the championship fight. Here's the issue, right? Here's the issue. If Stipe Miocic loses, as when he lost to me, he deserves a rematch. That's why I fought him again, even though it took some time. He will deserve a rematch, right? If Stipe Miocic loses to Francis, now what? Now what, though? Do they just move on without him, or do they? I don't know, Ariel, because the dude does deserve. They're 1-1.
But they're going to give it to John.
But Ariel, I mean, they're 1-1.
By the way, maybe then you do Derrick versus Stipe.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, man, like he will deserve a rematch. Now, do you scrap all the plans that are in play and give him that said rematch, or do you make him wait? Because again, it took time for me to fight him again. I did fight Derrick in the meantime. So Stipe Miocic, this fight for him is so important because it's a heavyweight championship fight, but also because of what happens if he does not win. Because now he's got some time to wait. He's going to find himself frustrated as he was with me, and he will also be getting older every single day. So then he will then find himself in the same position I was in by the time we started fighting again and again, right? So it's like, man, this is a big spot for the champ, and he has to get it done, or he's going to be in a weird spot.
The good news is that heavyweight is super interesting. I love when top guys fight around each other because now we start talking about them. The division is in focus. I'm going to talk more about the heavyweight division in a second, but I do want to ask you this. Here we are showering Derrick with praise, and rightfully so. What about the extra shots when Blaydes was down? You know, he said
extra shots.
No, okay, so you don't feel like that's dirty or anything like that?
No, bro. They tell you in there, Ariel, fight until we stop you. That's what Derrick Lewis does. He fights until you pull him off of him. We've seen many times where guys drop someone and then the guy's like, match over. Not your job to stop the fight. It's the referee's job to stop the fight. And he punched him until Herb Dean got there to stop the fight. And Derrick saw that's Herb Dean's fault, because I think there was a moment of human, like he humanized what just happened. Right. It was very like a realization, like, wow, you know, like this dude's hurt because he could hear Curtis. Right. After the initial rush of the chops and the Black Beast celebration, you look across that octagon and see that guy on the ground going, oh, yeah, it's scary. Right. And then the human aspect takes over. And that's when Derrick looked like, whoa, you know, that's not me, you know, like, and now he's kind of saying that's his fault. But reality is Herb didn't do anything wrong. The moment Derrick dropped him, he ran over there as fast as he could, yelling, stop, stop, stop. But Derrick did exactly what he was supposed to do. But you cannot let these guys take follow-up shots at heavyweight. There cannot be follow-up shots at heavyweight. You have to get in there as soon as you can, because those punches, those two punches that Derrick landed could really, for a long time, have Curtis Blaydes gun shy now, right? Like he may not be the same guy when he goes into the octagon like, holy cow, I don't want that to happen again. You never know what those types of knockouts, what type of effect it has on these guys long term.
So I'm told that he's going home today, Curtis. He did go to the hospital. That's the kind of knockout that can stay with you for quite some time. Like, you know, I don't want to see him fight for a while. He needs to rest. He needs to recover. I feel for him. Now, one fight left on his contract. He was hoping to cash in. Derrick, by the way, one fight left on his contract. So he's in prime position to cash in, whether or not he gets that new deal before the last fight or after.
Generally, you don't. Unless you tell them, I want to wait. Like, I never reached the end of my contract, ever. I've never gotten to a position where I was fighting the last fight on my contract. We've always found a way to get to the extension before.
And he hits him with the DX chop. I mean, multiple.
Bro, and then you start waiting for the interview, right? Because you know he's going to be great. But then he was kind of reserved.
He was reserved.
He was reserved in the interview. He was reserved. Gosh, I mean, there's normally a little bit more with the interviews to Derrick Lewis, right? Like there's
it's usually like off the cuff stuff, like he has to go to the washroom or something like that. It's usually
I have to go to the boo. I have to boo. My stomach hurting. I like my balls was hot. He just says like all kinds of crazy stuff. But this time he was very reserved. I don't understand. But he did a good job with Larsenko. Whenever Lar was like, you see him emotionally, he's like, nah, I just had something in my eye. Like that's Derrick. You know, like, man, the dude's fun. Dude's fun. Dude can really fight, powerful. And it's about matchups and who he ends up fighting for that belt.
All right. So, and by the way, you talk about like C-level Kane, motivated BJ, things of that nature. Derrick Lewis in February is a force to be reckoned with. 7-0 now, fighting in February throughout his entire career, his birth month. So, you know, watch out if you get booked against. I mean, if he would have fought you in February, I mean, it would have been all she wrote. You know what I mean? He'd be the heavyweight champ. Crazy. So we're talking about.
You're so ridiculous. Like sometimes I look at you like this dude's ridiculous. Like you can't even help yourself but to instigate. Like it's just what you do. Like
I'm just saying.
You're trying to instigate Derrick Lewis against an old man now. You're trying to instigate.
I'm saying
Derrick Lewis versus an old man.
It was in November, so everything was okay. But I'm saying if it would have been in February, maybe things different.